Miami Beach is famous for, among many things, its long stretch of luxurious white sand beaches. Escaping from the heat of the bustling city life, the beach feels like the only bit of nature on this archipelago. But Miami Beach is anything but naturally occurring. What we now know as Miami Beach was once a humble sandbar, sprouted with mangroves, far from being readily inhabitable. Around 1900, John S. Collins purchased the sandbar for 25 cents per acre. After a failed avocado farm venture, Collins realized the profitability of the sandbar and began to develop his vision for the oceanfront resort city, Miami Beach. The process of turning the sandbar into a buildable piece of land was expensive and laborious. The mangroves were cleared, canals were deepened, sand was dredged and filled, and suddenly the 1,600-acre sandbar transformed into the 2,800-acre island primed for real estate. The history of how Miami Beach was formed set the stage for its lasting and complicated relationship with its most precious material, sand. Because Miami Beach is not a naturally occurring geologic figure, every grain of sand on the beach has been placed there and requires constant maintenance due to natural beach erosion. The most popular way to combat erosion is through beach renourishment. Beach renourishment programs dredge sand from the ocean floor and redistribute it on the beach. This artificial beach is said to protect the coastline, but it's only a temporary fix. Additionally, there is a corollary between beach renourishment and adjacent property value. Miami Beach has found itself in a state of perpetual maintenance in order to ward off erosion in support of local economy. However, beach renourishment may be more harmful than helpful in the face of rising sea levels by creating only an image of security. Miami Beach maintains a precarious relationship to water that slips just under the guise of island city overflowing with beauty and luxury. As sea levels rise, beach renourishment will become an insufficient means of protection, and the land inhabited by Miami Beach will become submerged underwater. Ocean water is a public good like air, sunlight, or wildlife. Submerged land is the territory of a country for 12 nautical miles offshore but cannot be owned by individuals. Under littoral rights, land adjacent to the seashore may only be owned up to the mean high tide line, and beyond that is public domain. Because Miami is adjacent to navigable waters, land that becomes submerged automatically becomes publicly owned. Such laws are based on a solid to fluid relationship between land and water. But what if land, or ground, were not fixed, but a flowing public good similar to that of water? As Miami Beach begins to disappear underwater, a new and resilient city typology will emerge in its place. Entropic City is an urban proposal that will embrace living with water by surrendering its dependency on fixed land. The ground is composed of sand, a formless material that will shape and be shaped by the city. The ground will become a fluid part of the cityscape, able to respond to forces of climate and time. Just as Miami has historically maintained sandy ground, Entropic City will embrace a culture of perpetual maintenance. Amid a new paradigm of a constant shifting ground, urban life will take new forms. Entropic City aims to challenge the assumption that the city and architecture are merely physical products to be consumed for a finite period of time, and rather continuous systems of relational forces and flows. In Buddhism, there is a tradition of making elaborate mandalas out of colored sand. These pieces of art are intricately planned and require weeks of work by a team of monks. Their labor culminates in a ceremonial destruction of the mandala, at which point the sand is released back into the river as a symbol of the transitory nature of the material. This process is symbolic of the city's affinity for entropy and the constant maintenance of disorder. Entropic City is organized around an elevated infrastructural system based on center pivot irrigation. Center pivot irrigation is an efficient method of particulate material distribution and a conceptual example of the emergence of form, the crop circle, as a byproduct of a mechanical system. The city is divided into regions based on the radius of the gantry system, which continuously allocates and maintains the ground for that region. This organization commingles urban life with the work necessary to sustain such life. Each neighborhood is equipped with sand storage in the center of the pivot system, where outgoing sand is collected, transported, and then deposited through an intelligent mechanism. Although each neighborhood will use sand differently, in general the gantry will deposit sand where it is needed as a form of rough grading. The sand will then go through a process of fine grading that is specific to the neighborhood. There exists a wealth of possibilities for how this new infrastructure could be used to build, sculpt, and maintain ground, each with its own implications for how the neighborhood will form. Entropic City is projective of a future where machines are celebrated as a part of the urban landscape and inevitably define the organization and activities of cities. Regional transportation floats around the perimeter of the circle as defined by the gantry. Connection points between circles serve as transportation hubs that connect the neighborhoods to each other and to the greater Miami area. A variety of types of hubs allow for boat, train, or pedestrian access to each neighborhood, and goods distribution platforms are located where the train tracks lift up to meet the gantry. Overall, Entropic City lays down the framework for collections of neighborhoods to operate as a city. Transportation, infrastructure, and ideology are shared, but within each circle, unique microecologies will develop.